Hello and welcome everybody. So today, as I mentioned in the previous class, we're gonna talk about passive voice. So I recommend to please watch this video before our presential session in our next class. So let's start. To start with passive voice, we will have to understand first how or what is active voice. So active voice is the way that we commonly express. It focuses in the person, so we know the structure is there is a subject, in this case is he. There is gonna be a verb, in this case cooks. And finally, there is gonna be a complement or an object, in this case a chicken. So the main characteristic of an active voice sentence is that it focuses in the person that is doing the action. So as I mentioned, in this case he is doing the action and chicken is receiving the action. So that way we have a sentence like this. So he cooks chicken. So in all sentences in English or in Spanish or in any language, we're gonna find an active person and a passive person. The active person is doing the action, in this case he, and the passive is receiving the action, in this case chicken. So now, talking about passive voice, we're gonna do the opposite to active voice. That means we're gonna focus in the object of the sentence. In this case, chicken. So we're gonna start with chicken. Additional to it, we're gonna mention, it's important to say that passive voice is used to talk about specific things. So like movies, books, art, pieces of art, materials and things like that. Remember, we're gonna focus in art because unit number 9 of Big One Book is about arts. So, rules to use passive voice. To start with, we're gonna have the object or complement, in this case, chicken, that was our object in the previous sentence. Then, this is pretty important. We're gonna always add the verb to be. Independent if we're talking about in present, past, future, that doesn't matter. We're gonna add the verb to be. Then, the same happens with the verb. We're gonna conjugate the verb with the past participle form, independent of the time. So if we talk in present, in past, in future, it's not important. We're gonna use the past participle. And finally, we're gonna mention the person using a preposition by. So let's take a look. Here we have our sentence. It says chicken is cooked by him. So important thing, chicken is always the first, so it's the passive as in the previous sentence. Then the verb to be is conjugated according to the time. So you remember I said it's not important, the verb is always in past participle. Well, the one that is conjugated according to the time is the verb to be. So meaning that in this case is present, so we use is. Then the verb is always in past participle. There is no discussion about this. And finally, the subject or active person. In this case, we have to be really careful, guys, because this person is mentioned only if it's a relevant subject. So it's not the same to say an action was done by, I don't know, my friend or by the president, because the president is more important, so it's relevant what he's doing, right? So, as I said, we need to use by in this case, okay? So, let's take a look. We're gonna do this exercise pretty quick. So, you're gonna take some time. Here I have a timer. So, you're going to categorize active voice and passive voice sentences. Really quickly. And time's up. So, this exercise is gonna be in the link that I'm sending you guys, so you can see the presentation and so you can practice which sentence is which one. So remember to be careful, like for example, who is the subject, who is the object. Okay, guys? So this is for you to work, for you to practice, and let's continue. Now, we're gonna see the different types of conjugation in passive voice. So we're starting with present. So that's the one that we have been working until the moment. Let's start. So to begin with, we need to conjugate the verb to be in simple present. So that means we're gonna use am, is, or are depending on the person. Is used to talk about routines, well, because it's simple present. And here we have an example. Homework is the object, is, and verb to be is, and the final or the best in past participle done. Remember that in this case is not relevant the person, but if we would like to include a person, we can use by. Saying, for example, homework is done by me or by my brother. Doesn't matter. Okay, guys? So remember that. Then let's continue with our past passive. So as you can imagine, we're going to conjugate the verb to be once again, but this time in past. So we're gonna use was or were according to the person or the object in this case. So it's used to talk about actions that happen in past, like a regular simple past, but we're gonna focus in the object. So let's take a look at this. The active voice is gonna be she ate an apple. That's normal. Now, what happens if we focus in the apple? It's gonna be an apple was eaten. So, as I mentioned before, the subject is not pretty relevant, so we're not gonna mention. But in case that you want to do it, we're gonna say by her. Remember, it's an object pronoun. Okay, let's continue. So, then we're gonna use the passive voice with will. So, it's pretty much the same. We're gonna use will with the verb to be. That means that we're gonna always say will be. In this case, there is no other conjugation. Then we're gonna say that it's used to talk about predictions, possibilities, or decisions, like an usual will structure. In this case, we have here the example. He will play soccer. This is an active voice, right? Then guys, we're gonna have the opposite or the passive voice in which we're gonna focus in soccer. So, will be like this. Soccer will be played. Once again, remember the subject is not completely relevant because it's not a specific person. However, if we want to include, for example, I don't know, Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, we will have to use by. For example, soccer will be played by Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. And finally, we're gonna check the present perfect in passive voice. Ooh, that must be scary, but it's not scary at all. Let's take a look. So, as in the previous ones, we're gonna conjugate the verb to be. In this case, with have or has, depending on the object that we're gonna use. Remember, this conjugation will be have been or has been. As a normal present perfect structure, we're gonna use it to talk about experiences or actions that happened in the past, but we don't have exactly the time in this case. So, here we have an active voice. Can you guess what could be the passive voice? Okay, so let's take a look. If the passive voice in present perfect, we're gonna use have been or has been, we have to identify first which one is the passive. In this case, we're gonna say it's English. So we should start by saying English. Then we always have to use the verb to be next to the passive, in this case, object. So English is like an it, so we're gonna use has been. And finally, we're gonna mention the verb, in this case, studied. This is already in past participle, so you just have to add it. And the result is gonna be something like this. English has been studied. So we're not focusing in the students, but in English itself. Right? Okay, guys, so now it's time to take a look to some exercises. We're gonna see. Remember, these exercises are gonna be available for you in the link that I'm sending attached to the video. So guys, here we have a matchmaking. So we have to match the passive voice with the active voice. In this case, I was incorrect. So here we have, and here we have another. That's correct. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna leave it for you to keep practicing and doing it. Then this is for you to do it by hand. So we're gonna read the active voice sentences and switch them to passive voice. In this case, is more like a practice for you guys. So here you have different sentences in present, past, future, and present perfect for you to change. So if you can do them to share in the class, that will be amazing. If you can't, there is no problem at all. And finally, we have here some examples that we can see in real life. So we can use them in movies, as I mentioned before. So here we have some examples. We can use it for books. So here you have another example. It's written by someone else. And in paintings or music, like in this example. Okay, guys, so time to practice. This is gonna be your homework. So this is not an optional one. You're gonna choose a movie, a song, piece of art, book, whatever you prefer, guys. And we're gonna write some sentences like this. Shake It Off song was sung by Taylor Swift, guys. Okay, guys, so I think that's everything for the video. If you have any questions, please let me know. If everything's clear, that will be amazing. See you in class there.